right, so we should be live now with you all. And welcome. I am here with Nyaesia Campbell of Innovative Strategies. And I would love for you to just tell us a little bit about you and about your business.
Hi, everyone, and thanks for having me. My name is Nyaesia Campbell, and I'm the founder of Innovative Strategies LLC. We're a small boutique consulting firm that specializes in capacity building services such as program development, grant writing, project management for civic organizations, nonprofits, and small businesses. So that's the bread and butter of what we do.
Awesome. And so, what was your career like before you went out on your own, and what kind of inspired you to start your own business?
Oh, wow. Okay.
Great
It's been
question.
it's been a journey, right? It's been a
Yeah.
journey, and I think everyone in this particular industry has their own journey when it comes to work histories, experience, and things like that. But I can say that what inspired me to make this to go down this particular track is that I was working for over 6 years as a federal congressional staffer. And I had other administrative roles in criminal justice and education. So basically, I was in public service roles, right? And
Mhm.
so I saw all this amazing work that was done in cities and towns when I was working in Alabama, as well as in Georgia and South Florida, which all three had completely different demographics. But I was really inspired by all the great work that was going on and my ability to help everyone when it came to fundraising and grant writing in some capacity in all of those particular roles.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I feel like that's one thing that I've really enjoyed in my business is when I was, working in a 9 to 5, I was only helping that one organization. We're now having, my own fundraising consulting business. I can help multiple organizations. So that's been just kind of a fun benefit of it.
No, I completely get it. When you're working for others, sometimes it can be challenging and being able to actually have that hands-on approach and being able to help out people in the capacity that you really want to. So
Mm,
um I was really excited and very happy to be able to do that.
yeah, absolutely. So, what does a typical day look like for you, or is there a typical day at all? Or is it always different?
Think I have a typical day. I guess I can say there are quite a few things that I'm always doing. I'm always on the phone. I'm actually, on phone, in-person meetings, having virtual or in-person meetings, doing strategy sessions with clients, or actually doing some strategy or some planning with my internal team. So that's a lot of what takes place on a daily basis with me. So yeah. So I guess I could say basically a lot of strategy calls, a lot of meetings, a lot of I guess strategizing.
That's, kind of what we do as grant professionals, right? Most of it is like project management and strategy. It's not necessarily like you're just sitting writing the whole time. I feel like that's something I teach in my workshop is that the actual writing piece is only one piece of the whole puzzle, that there's so much else, other things that go into it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. So how do you stay organized and, managing all these different projects for different grants, different organizations? What does that look like for you?
Well, what I like to say well, let's just say this. I have a lot of things going on pretty much all the time, but I'm a natural multitasker. But I will say that one of the things that I'm most proud of is having like a fantastic team.
Mm,
So, of course, with our job, with our profession, we wear many hats, at
mm,
least when you start out for sure. But I can say that one of the best pieces of advice that I received from other business owners and things like that is to make sure that you have a solid team of people that around you that are able to help you. So it'll help you to be able to do your job more efficiently and for you to be able to scale. So yeah, so I would say me having a natural ability to multitask. I'm a planner by nature, and also just having a fantastic team of people that are able to, pitch in, and we all just help each other. So
that's awesome. Yeah. What is innovative strategies look like? How is your team? How many people do you have? I'm curious because for me it's just me. I have hired a subcontractor here and there when I've been really busy, to kind of take on some extra work and help me serve my clients better. But for the most part, it's just me over here. So I'm curious what that looks like for other shops.
okay, so for me, I have about six other people that come in, and to top it off, I have partnerships with other sister firms, as I like to call them, where I'm able to, to tap into some of their talents and their lanes and things like that. That's a big help as well. So my team, they come from different backgrounds like linguistics. Some people have research backgrounds, public what is it? Public relations background, as well as social media, the arts. So just having that diversity in my team, it helps with my clients, and it also helps me because I can't do everything. So
Yeah.
I am I am more I'm learning. I'm learning. When I first started, I was doing everything.
Right.
And then it was just like I was spread way too thin, right? And
Mhm.
then so like I said, that one piece of advice was, hey, get some good people. So I started off with one person, and then that person grew to another person, and just having a great team that I have, they're able to take a lot of the load off of me. And so much so to the point where they're like, hey, do you need more help with something? So I'm not even necessarily having to come to them as much. They're asking me, is there anything that, we can
Sure.
do to, lighten the load? And that's an amazing amount of help.
Mhm.
But I do hear of some other firms that may have had to try a few people out,
Sure.
on a consultant basis or a part-time basis and things like that as well. And like I said, even having the partnerships with other firms, other sister firms, as I like to call them, it's a huge help because we're able to step in for each other, for various projects, different grant writing projects, project management. Like I have another firm that I partner with emotional intelligence, or we do compliance for grants and things like that. But that's that particular firm. I have another firm that does some lobbying and things like that that some of my clients may need, especially like some of the larger firms. They may be doing other things, such as lobbying for various issues and things like that, or creating laws and stuff. So just collecting uh, a great group of people around myself and utilizing their talents, and just trying to see where it is that they fit, and they kind of give me feedback on what they like to do, and we just kind of match, we just gel. It's
Yeah,
just
I love that. And I love the different backgrounds because you don't necessarily need to have a background as a grant writer, right? But some of those areas can be really useful, like linguistics or research, because again, there's so many elements that go into it. So I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it.
Yeah, and just kind of going through these questions here. We asked for some questions out there on social media, and um,
Okay.
so how do you establish and maintain strong relationships with your clients?
Okay. So I would say good communication. When it comes down to establishing some good relationships and things, I will say this too. We don't take all people that just come through the door. We've become a lot more well, discriminating when it comes to clients or whatnot. We do work with clients from not having a nonprofit, assisting them with creating a nonprofit, all the way up to multi-million dollar, organizations.
Mm-hmm.
However, everyone is not the right fit. And I'm sure that you have run into this, and some other people have probably run into this as well. We like to pretty much develop a rapport early on to make sure that we're both the right fit for each other, and be very transparent about what it is that we do, what we can do, and and to manage expectations.
Right.
So I guess that is very big for me, is basically having open communication, setting some expectations on both of our ends. And yeah, I think that helps.
Right. Yeah, I would agree with that. And I've noticed oh, sorry, I'm getting some feedback here. I've noticed on my end, there are some nonprofits that are just getting started. Maybe they're brand new and they come to me like, oh, all we need is grants. That's how we're going to get started. And so sometimes there's a little bit of education about being grant ready before you can actually apply, and the elements that you need to have in place. So I would agree with that. And that, I probably could have just taken them on as a client, but that might have been a little bit disingenuous to what I thought we could actually get in the long run in terms of grant funding. So yeah, I think that's helpful to have that open communication and talk about their needs,
It,
before working together.
it does. I mean, and having that type of open communication, like sometimes people may need to get some other things in order and then come back, you know.
Mhm. Right.
And then sometimes people, like you said, do need to be educated on the process. And when you are able to let them know, like, and great grant readiness is a huge portion for our business as well, is making sure that they understand what all elements go into that and where they are in the process, right? And
Mhm.
then just having those like transparent, real conversations, like, this is where you are and this is where you're trying to go, you know, because I believe in helping people to get to wherever it is that they're trying to go, as far as goals and different things like that, but we do
Right.
have to manage expectations about how to get there. And
Right.
so, I think when you have those conversations on the front end and just manage those expectations, I mean, I think that's just the major part right there: open communication and managing expectations.
Right. Exactly. For sure. What kind of areas of expertise would you say that you are in? It seems like you've done a lot of federal grants with your background. Um, I know when we chatted previously, you talked about doing some business grants as well, and that's an area that I don't have experience in on the business side. I've mostly been nonprofit or government, so I'd just be curious to hear about that from you.
Okay, well, we do specialize in certain areas. However, it's been really interesting and challenging to be able to go outside of those comfort zones a little bit, and do grants in other areas that we hadn't ordinarily done before. To give you an example, we've done a lot of workforce development, a lot of Department of Labor, those type of grants, and things in education, DOJ, I've been doing a lot more of Department of Justice type of grants. But we did a couple of grants earlier this year that I thought was fascinating. Well, one last year and one this year, that in the midst of all the other grants that we do, but I thought these were just so fascinating, doing like one for Department of Energy or Department of Transportation. Of course, those are super involved, but it was completely different than anything that we've ever done. But it was a lot. It was a lot of work, but it was so interesting. Like
Mhm.
all the nuances and little, because every agency is different when it comes down to federal agencies, it. And so it's really cool to be able to see how the agencies differ, and, what they prioritize, even with the grant process and how they go about it. So we do some federal work. We also do some philanthropic and foundation grants as well. That's where a lot of our that's where a lot of our smaller nonprofits and some of our businesses come in at, when we're talking about those companies, those foundation works, such as, I don't know, pretty much any large company has a foundation. So we're talking about the Targets, the Publix, the, you know, uh, I don't know, NASDAQ, just there's
Yeah,
so many
like the
different.
corporate foundation. Mhm.
Exactly, exactly. So that's where a lot of the smaller as well as growing organizations and some small businesses may get the bulk of their money from. So for a lot of small businesses, there's money out there. There's money out there for all different entities. It's just that this, it's about timing and you being able to see those opportunities and kind of positioning yourself to be in a position to go after those opportunities.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So what would you say are some common challenges faced by grant consultants, and how do you go about addressing them? I'm trying to think of this for myself as I ask the question to you. I could think of a few things, but I could go after you.
Okay, okay. I think for me, I think knowing when to say no to determine the right clients and having the right fit. Now that's a challenge, and knowing, what's going to be right for you, right? And when it comes down to clients, and just knowing that all business isn't good business, and sometimes you have to say no and be able to navigate that, to be able to know. I would say another thing would be, hmm, I would say if you're in the government, arena, and actually working with government agencies and having to navigate those bureaucracies. So that can be challenging sometimes, right?
Yeah,
Because some
lots
of
of
those
red
agencies,
tape and hoops to jump
yeah,
through.
red tape, their own internal conflicts, different things like that, trying to remain neutral, but at the same time doing your job, right?
Mhm.
So I think that those things can be challenging. Also knowing when to bring in help. And
Mhm.
I'll say whether, for your own team or just external partners as well. I think within our particular industry, that's very important. And when knowing to say, hey, I need help, you may have a little bit more expertise on this thing. Let's talk about it, and maybe we can strategize on some things. So and probably the last one is being able to have a system in place that works for you, whether you're in the front leading, or if you have to put one of your team in place to delegate certain
Sure.
responsibilities. So having systems in place. It really helps, so that way you aren't like recreating the wheel each and every time. So if you have like systems in place, that, hey, when A happens, B happens, C happens, it just makes things flow so much easier.
Right.
And I think that's about it. I want to hear yours. I want to hear your
Well, yeah,
challenges.
I would certainly echo a lot of things that you said. As I mentioned, I haven't really hired out all that much, just when I have been, when I had a number of projects at one time, and I was able to seek out a subcontractor. But I think that is something that I could probably do more of. It's like take your own advice. And I would certainly recommend to other people too, because that's one way how you could also grow and take on more work, because there's only so many hours in a day and so many things that one person can do. So yeah, certainly that on the business side of things. In terms of working with clients, I think it is a lot about setting expectations and just having them recognize the things that funders are looking for and how to speak to funders, and that it's not just about the writing, that it's also about the programs and the organization and your budgets, that your organization has to be a sustainable organization and prove financial success, which I recognize for small nonprofits. It's like, well, how can I show financial success if I'm trying to get grant funding, and just trying to navigate how to answer those questions in a way that speaks to funders, but also puts organizations in the best light to get funding. So just a lot of education, I would say, in what funders are looking for, and then what clients are looking for, and how those two things merge and come together. I don't know if that's a challenge per se, as much as just like a part of the job, and really setting those expectations with clients.
I
But
think it could be a challenge. I think it could be a challenge simply
sure.
because sometimes we have to educate our clients, right? We have to educate our clients on the process. We have to educate them on what's trending, right? What's trending, what the funders are looking for now versus what they may have been looking for when they used to write grants 5 years ago. You see what I'm
Right.
saying? So I think things like
Because yeah,
that.
there are different trends, I feel like, that
Mhm.
that funders are looking for, and they might want to see more of, and that does change. I just did a training last week on here about outcomes versus outputs, and I think that's something that funders are looking for more and more, is like proving that outcome versus just here's what we did. It's like, okay, here's what you did, but how do you prove that what you did had this like transformation?
I mean, and to even echo off of what you're saying, even explaining that to a client, like they don't some of my clients do some fantastic work. But
Right.
when it comes down to breaking down, like what is that? You
Mhm.
know,
Yeah, it's a lot
just
of
like
like extracting the information from them.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And that could be challenging. Trying to
Right.
get that information that you need so that you can write a very competitive proposal, because you can't go through everything. So it's like one of those things where you just have to kind of sift through what's good, and then hopefully you have clients that are engaged. I mean, for me, I tell them up front, I need engagement. you
Mhm.
know
Yeah,
we
I
don't.
feel like you could be the best writer in the world, but if you can't pull that information out from them, then you don't have anything to write about. So there
No, I
is
get it.
that two-way.
Yes, yes. And I tell my clients, I'm not writing works of fiction here. We have to make
I love
sure
that phrase.
that I understand. Huh? What'd you
I
say?
said I love that phrase. We're not writing works of
We're
fiction.
not writing works of fiction. Although, I have taken many classes in creative writing, in college, but that is not what we're doing right now. So, you have to have that engagement so that way that if I'm not able to tell your story, as well as you would or better, then that's a problem, So yes, we definitely need that type of engagement and being able to extract that information because I always I do talk to my clients and I tell them, you know, when you're in a networking situation, you have an opportunity to talk to people and literally have an opportunity to convince them. They're able to see your mannerisms, they're able to see a whole bunch of cues that they're able to see visually. When I'm writing something for you, this is your shot.
Mm-hmm.
This is your time to shine. So I have to be able to tell it like they need to be able to see it through the writing.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're absolutely correct that, that can be a challenge sometimes in getting that type of information that you need to do a fantastic proposal.
Yeah. And then the next question here. So, how do you handle situations when a grant application doesn't get funded?
Well, I have conversations with my clients about the application. We can we request feedback from the funders themselves. We may discuss those issues and talk about those things that we can improve on the next cycle. Yeah, so I'm kind of yeah, I'm a weirdo. So we're gonna research kind of like almost everybody that got funded and just kind of pick it through, just kind of see like what it is that they may have had and how that particular organization stacked up against the organization I may be working for,
Ooh.
just to see if there's something that can be improved upon, or maybe and I'll say this to some clients as well. Sometimes you can write a perfect proposal. Everything about it was great. You can have a fantastic organization. Sometimes the competition is just stiff and
Mhm.
there's only so much amount of money that is that's available. So what we do is pretty much strategize and see if they want to participate in the next cycle, or go and look for other opportunities. If there's another cycle, especially like a year out, 6 months out or something like that, that gives us plenty of time to actually come up with a great plan and make it better. And if it's something where they didn't take my advice, then, well, we can talk about those things as well. Cause we know those things do happen sometimes, but the client, they get what they,
Right.
all the time, we may be able to tell them, hey, these are little things that are red flags. These are little things that you may or may not let's try to clean these things up, or, and then you have some clients that are a little stubborn sometimes and they want to do things their way. And so, so they may want to, I don't know, say things in a specific way or whatever. And, that could have been a determinant actually, and whether the grant gets funded or not. So yeah, just having those transparent conversations.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, you can't always reach out to the funder. That's sometimes part of their stipulations, but if there is an opportunity to get that feedback of why something wasn't funded directly from the funder, I would always take that opportunity, because it could be it wasn't a fit right now. It could be you're not a good fit ever at all. And then I think that's great feedback, because then I won't waste our time and apply the next year.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll try out on a different program, like, okay, so this program didn't get funded. Does that, but that might not mean that they don't want to fund this organization. They might like this program a little bit better. So yeah, I kind of handle that similarly, but and I love the strategy too. I'm always looking at 990s and seeing who they had funded
Yeah.
in the past, and how that translates to that organization.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we do a lot of that in the grant research part of what we do. because we do grant research as well. So, we love to do that, to go through the 990s to see, what those particular amounts, those awards were, going back a few years, and just checking them out, just really just
Right.
trying to make sure that, that this particular opportunity is a right fit. And sometimes it's even worth going a little bit extra, checking out news articles, trying to see
Sure.
trying to see if there's anything in the newspaper about these people, because sometimes even with federal funding, a lot of federal funding that drops, a lot of it directly corresponds with what's in the news.
Mhm.
What's current events, different things like that. If there's something going on that's been, in the headlines, that's getting a lot of traction, you can, about 9 times out of 10, there's going to be a grant that drops, or surrounding that
Helpful
particular issue
information
or
to
that
know.
particular area.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Just like,
yeah.
okay, that wasn't in our control. We can't control this thing that happened in the world that is making grant funding drop off. So
Yeah,
helpful
yeah.
information.
Yeah, and one of the ways that I found that out was, like I said, when I was working as a congressional staffer, a lot of the times, the project officers or project managers would call our particular office if they were coming into our particular area to do like listening sessions and things like that. And a lot of those, listening sessions led to them creating a particular grant for certain issues. So they came to hear what the communities or whatever issues that they had, and then would be able to create some sort of grant opportunity and things like that. So yeah, that was, just having those relationships with those federal agencies, those things kind of help. So you do definitely notice those particular trends when
Mhm.
something hits the news. Go check out grants.gov.
Yeah. Yeah. Good advice there for sure. Okay. And so what advice do you have for someone aspiring to become a grant consultant or fundraising consultant?
I would say definitely be open to the pivot. I would say that if COVID really, it was a blessing and a curse for a lot of people.
Mhm.
But for me, I have to admit, I saw both sides of it, but I came out on the other side of that just in a very good position. Um, However, I did learn that I needed to pivot certain services and maybe even do an assessment. Like, and this is what I do every year now. And if I have to make a pivot in between the year based off of something major happening, such as, a pandemic,
Mhm.
I have to do an assessment, and reevaluate some services and make sure that I am doing something that's needed, and being able to pivot if there's something that I need to scale back or even just discontinue altogether. So that's something that I would say to some new consultants as well. Don't be scared and don't be frightened to pivot. Get your great team. Start off with just one person if you have to. There are certain positions and certain things that I'm sure that you can find for that person to do that could actually generate money for you guys so that you can be able to hire more people. Because the thing about having a great team behind you is the ability to juggle like multiple projects, and without having to do the admin, the recruiting, the marketing, the meetings, all of these
Right.
things. If you have a great team, or at least get you one great person, try some people out, until you maybe settle on that one person, whoever that is, and then just grow from there. And that person, if they're strong and synergies there, I think it'll create opportunities for you to be able to hire and grow, and get more opportunities. And my third thing would likely be is to partner with other consultants, especially those that offer even similar services, because it may be able that would allow you to increase your capacity for you to be able to scale your business and to possibly even be able to get like major contracts, because now, you know, we're feeding into and off of each other. So, you know, the more skill sets that I can offer, or if I can offer these type of services through a partner or sister firm, I'm all for it, because there's more than enough money, resources for all of us to do well.
Yes, I read somewhere the other day that there's just on the nonprofit side, there's like 1.8 million nonprofits in the US. Um, and most of those are going to be your smaller nonprofit that doesn't necessarily have their own grant team. So there is certainly plenty of work to go around for all of us. And
Yes. Yes,
I love
yes, there
what you
is.
said just about like collaborating and expanding your networks too.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah, I guess.
What kind of advice what do you normally, give out to others?
Yeah, I would say for me, it would be more about like having confidence in your skill set. So my background, I was in higher ed for about 13 years or so. So tons of experience, writing grants, winning grants, all of that. But I was never at that like executive level. So I feel like I was really hesitant to go out on my own. I wasn't sure that I like had enough value for my clients. But a lot of my clients that I've worked with have been smaller nonprofits that, again, they don't have a grant team. They could never have afforded somebody, with 13 years of experience, but on a contract basis, they could have. And so I'd say that would be my number one tip, is that your past experience is so valuable for so many organizations that are out there, even if you weren't necessarily at that executive level. And if you were, then that's great. More power to you there. But just for the others out there that might feel like their experience isn't as valuable, it absolutely is, especially on the higher ed side, because they do have resources to provide professional development. So anybody that, kind of came up in fundraising and in higher ed probably has tons and tons of training, and that really translates to an expert for someone for some smaller nonprofits. So yeah,
Well,
just another take on it.
I will just add a little bit to what you just said. I think there's a lane for everyone. I think we all have some talents and some gifts. And I would encourage new consultants to go ahead and stick with it. If this is your passion, if there's everyone that has been doing some sort of work in whatever it is, you have an experience that thousands of other people are out here trying to pay for, because they don't have the opportunity or maybe even the time to go and get that type of expertise.
Mhm.
So no matter if you've been in a profession for only a few years, and it's in particularly education, because I've worked in higher ed too for college, and it could be interesting because you're dealing with a lot of educated, people who are very much so educated, and a lot of the, instructors themselves can write their own grants. They don't necessarily need the powerhouse grant writing team from, particular institutions and things like that. But if you have that type of experience, there are some other entities out here who can use that. And even those colleges, there are some colleges that don't have that powerhouse. Even though you would think that they would, there are some out there who could use your talents and things as
Sure,
well.
absolutely. I would also argue that even if somebody is an expert or even a subject matter expert for what you're writing a grant for, there's still value in like a grant consultant. I'm sure you would say this as well, because we know what that funder might be looking for, and those pieces of information that need to be extracted, like the proof and the success, the results, and setting up a budget in a certain way. So, working together, I certainly wrote lots of grants for academia, higher ed, that for areas that I knew nothing about. Like, I worked in engineering for a long time, so I couldn't necessarily write those pieces of engineering that I don't have that information on, but I could pull out the information that I knew needed to be in the grant proposal. So yeah, I think even for those types of people that are super educated, there's still some nuances that I think a grant professional can help with.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And like I even think even in this profession is one of those things where the more you do it, the better you get. Because like I said earlier about having systems in place, I think okay, to start, I started off in Department of Ed grants. Okay. That was how I started. But
Mhm.
like and Department of Ed is completely different from some of the other, from some of the other agencies. But the meticulous detail that Department of Ed grants have
Mhm.
truly helped me in some of the other agencies. Like
Right,
just to know like the like the subtle nuances, like you said. It's the detail, the little small things. Like you have to put everything in those Department of Ed grants. Like
right.
everything. And it's like, like those grant proposals before they started putting those like character and word limits on it,
Right.
those proposals were humongous, right? So it helped me a lot. So I think that even if you want to go into something else, and I'm going to encourage other folks as well, whatever your skill set that you think is right now, I would challenge you to try another one just to just to try it out and see, because you may have something special that would allow you to be able to cross over into other agencies and other I guess other funding opportunities, and
Yeah,
be able to do it well.
yeah, definitely. Well, I feel like we've kind of touched on some of this, but how important is collaboration and networking in grant consulting?
It's huge. I'm going to say very. It's very, very important.
Mhm.
Networking can assist you with having a great team, because I would say depending on, well, I would say when it comes down to grant consulting and getting a great team, you may know someone who may be able to say, "Hey, you're a great fit for this particular person. I know they're looking for this, job. There may be a great writer, things like that." I think networking can help you to find great consulting partners. And I also think it's a great opportunity to get new clients.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, especially new clients, and to learn a
Mhm.
lot more. Um, I've gone to different workshops. I've gone to different workshops. I've gone to, a lot of professional development and things. And we research grants a lot. But
Mhm.
just by some of my networks, sometimes they're even able to tell me about grants that we didn't necessarily know were about to drop,
Right.
or coming down through the pipeline, or already available. And it was like, oh wow, had I not ran into that person, or had I not been at the same event or something like that, then I would have never known about this particular opportunity, or these opportunities that are about to be released.
Right.
So I think networking is huge. I for me, I don't know if I would be able to do what I do without being able to network, because especially when I first started, that's where a lot of my business came from, was through people that I had prior relationships with, and those people knowing people, and those people inviting me to things and introducing me to someone and things like that.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much how I got my first clients, was just like telling everybody that I knew what I was doing. And then them knowing somebody like, hey, let me introduce you to this person. So, certainly from just getting new clients, but also to learn to go I feel like our profession is always evolving. So to learn from others and to stay on top of things, it's always helpful for that professional development piece. And as a entrepreneur, I'm working from home, so it helps me to feel like I have a coworker or somebody to chat with about something similar in their day-to-day too.
Yeah, it's always good to bounce little things off of each other, right? When
Yeah,
when you're
absolutely.
able to be like, have you encountered this? And then they be like, yeah, I encountered this, and and this is how I handled it, or or maybe even they're asking you questions about how you handle a particular situation. You're able to give them some advice. So, it's really great to be able to network and find like different consulting partners, and to get that exchange of information, and to be able to get your name and your services out there just based off of who that's pretty awesome.
Right, right, absolutely. Well, we're coming to the end of the questions here, but I'll just go with this last one here. What excites you the most about what you do, and the future of what we do here?
um wow, what excites me the most, I would say, about our particular work is new clients, learning, seeing the new projects. We do a lot of project development and program development as well. So we're able to help out a lot of our clients either create a new program, or develop their program, or help them innovate, and strategize on how we can get money for something new that they're wanting to do, and just kind of talk it out, because it's so I will say that is one thing that excites me, is me being a part of the process of them growing,
Mm.
and to actually see them get the money and put those things into place. I'm like, oh my gosh, I had a hand in that. So that's very exciting for me. And technology, that's another thing. I love technology. I love new softwares. And people are probably, I know a lot of people have mixed feelings about AI, but I love it. I love it. I love new technology. I love AI. Um I love how it's rapidly changing, right? So you have these new apps, these new softwares, you have all these different things, and it can make our lives so much easier,
Mm.
if we know how to leverage it, of course,
Right.
um, and how to assist our clients to be able to leverage these things as well, because it can help them and help all of us in our systems and in our processes to make things a lot more efficient, and for us to be able to do things quicker, because time is money, right? So
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think of AI as just like a helpful tool, that wasn't there in the past, and can help kind of rephrase some things, or if I'm stuck on something like, okay, I know what I want to say, but I don't like the way I'm saying it. What's like a different way I could say this one thing? I mean, I always still edit it because I'm
of
sure it
course.
will get better and better as time goes on, but I think it sounds very robotic. And there's so many adjectives that are always added in. I'm like, "Ooh, I feel like you can tell this is generated." So, I feel like there's still a human element to it all, but it is exciting, and it is just a helpful tool for sure.
I think so
Um,
too. And yeah,
yeah, and I'd also echo what you said about just working with a client, especially long term, where you can see those funds coming in, you can see what they end up doing with them and the impact that you can make. Um, that's the best part, right? That's why we do
absolutely.
this. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, tell us where we can find you if there's anything that you would like to tell this audience about your business and about what you're doing.
Okay. Well, we're on Facebook, Instagram, uh, TikTok. I haven't been on there as much lately, which my social manager is probably gonna kill me. But so yeah, you'll be seeing a lot more of me in the upcoming year. As well as probably on YouTube as well. So but pretty much our social media platforms, Facebook and IG, they're running, around the clock. Um so you can find me there. We'll be doing a lot more project management in the upcoming year. You'll likely see us expand a little bit more, so maybe some new faces as well as some new partnerships. We'll be partnering likely with some more sister firms in other capacities and offering more services on the I guess you could say on the project management and grant management side. So yeah, so that's a major part of what we'll be doing in the upcoming year. But so far, so good. So yeah.
So good. Well, thank you so much. I loved this talk. It was so nice chatting with you, and hope
Same here.
we stay in touch.
Yes, absolutely. We got to have you come over to Innovative Strategies and do a talk as well. And that way I'll have an opportunity to introduce you to all of to my team, as well as also our viewing audience as well. So that would be great. I would love that. Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm gonna end the video here and pop off, but thank you again so much.
All right. Well, if anyone wants to get in contact with us, they have all of our information, and you're also able to contact us at Nyaesia, or either info@innovativestrategiesllc.com.
All right. Well, thank you, Nyaesia.
All right. Thank you for having me.
Okay,
Bye,
bye.
Lindsey.